Hello, everyone. Welcome to our April Unsung Hero interview series. I am so excited to interview our next guest, an individual who's really doing such great work in the community. So technically, he's not an unsung hero in our books. He is getting the Community Excellence Awards from the Sussex County Chamber of Commerce, Greater Newton Chamber of Commerce, Daughters of the American Revolution. So we are small fries compared to the accolades he's been
Right.
receiving. But what we thought was the impactful work he's doing deserves a lot of recognition, and no amount of exposure can, be enough for this great cause. So our unsung hero for the month is Benjamin Davey, affectionately known as Benny. He has established Benny's Bodega, and I will let him introduce the concept and his journey in a few short minutes. But I wanted to read out a small excerpt from the nomination that he received. The nomination said, "The mission of Benny's Bodega is people helping people. The storefront offers hardworking people who are struggling access to basic need items free of charge. Benny's Bodega helps people working hard but not making enough money to get by, while simultaneously making too much to receive any government assistance. Under the direction of Ben Davey, alongside his wife and children, the bodega offers a hand up to people in the community." And that last line really gave me chills because it wasn't a hand me down, it wasn't a hand out, it was a hand up. And I thought that was very thought-provoking and powerful. So Benny, so honored to have you here as our guest today.
First, thank you for having me. And now before this interview, I was calm. Now I'm nervous. Those are those high expectations I have to live up to. I'm very excited to be here, and I'm very excited for the opportunity to talk to you about Benny's Bodega and what we're trying to do in the community.
Absolutely. We can't wait. So you will ask you a few questions about your journey and how you got here. And we're going to ask you a little bit of rapid fire type of questions where we're gonna throw out a question, and the first thing that pops up in your mind, you're going to give us an answer. And then I'm going to ask you a few questions about your about legacy building, because we're an estate planning firm, and all that we do is building legacies and
Right.
people leaving legacies. So we want to talk a little bit about that. So without further ado, I am going to start just by asking you, can you give us a little bit of an insight as to how and why you set up Benny's Bodega?
Sure, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. Absolutely. So it all starts with me because my baseline is that I just have a desire to help people, and I've kind of always had that desire, and I can remember having that desire since I was a kid. I kind of go through high school, I go through college, and I get a degree in psychology. And if anybody knows about a degree in psychology, there's really not much you can do with it, right? But I know this. I know that I wanted to help people. So, long story short, that degree brought me to a career in the local child protection office. I spent the last 16, 17, almost 17 years in the child protection office in various roles and various capacities. My initial role was to investigate allegations of abuse and neglect, and when you go to people's houses, you instantly see the need. And a lot of times that need was just, we're hard, we're working, and X, Y, and Z occurred, and we just don't have things to make ends meet on top of, why we were there. So you take that need and you start to learn, and then just internally and professionally, I got a promotion, and that promotion afforded me the opportunity to work in the community and make partnerships and relationships in the community in representing the child protection office. And in doing that, I turned my back cubicle into the original bodega where caseworkers could come and they could shop for their families and bring it out to their families and kind of help those families with those basic needs. Your food, it was dry goods, so it was non-perishable, and it was clothes, and it was cleaning and hygiene supplies.
Were you
And now,
collecting this from other people? Were you putting in your own money to get all of this?
no, so I would engage the community. And what you find in when you engage the community, when you give people roles and responsibilities and you give them an idea of what is going on, because a lot of people just don't know. They want to help, but they just don't know. And when you afford them that opportunity to be in the know, it gives them an opportunity to give back. And I find, and it's my experience, that most people will take that opportunity and give back. So it all started with people believing in me and believing what I was trying to accomplish then for the families within the child protection office. And that was in 2018, 2019.
May I ask
And
how old you were at that time?
Oh, geez. Yeah, absolutely. So what year? 2024. I just turned 43.
24.
So I was in my late 30s. So what is
Yeah.
that? I don't know. I could do the math,
Wow.
37, 38, something like
It's
that.
amazing. Amazing.
So
Wow. Okay.
yeah, so we turned the back part of the cubicle, and this is where it gets important because we started to be so good at it at the office. I work for the child protection as a state job. So I started to become so good at it, and people started to bring in so much that I needed to make Benny's Bodega a real nonprofit. So I came to my wife one day while she was really, really busy, and she wasn't really paying much attention to me. And I said, "Hey, listen, I would like to take a bunch of our money and start a nonprofit." and
I imagine that must have been an interesting conversation.
It was a very interesting conversation. She was telling me what she had at the time a clothing business, and she was, selling things and busy doing her thing. So I tried to take advantage of that opportunity. And starting a nonprofit, you can do it yourself, but it's very difficult. And the state of New Jersey doesn't make that process easy. So we found it if we were going to do it, we needed to do it the right way. So we took $2,500 of our own money and got an accountant and got an attorney and started Benny's Bodega officially in June 1st of 2019. And then what happened after that was the pandemic. And
Pandemic.
then, yeah. So what happened was, is everything that was happening in my office now started happening in my house. So my house became Benny's Bodega. And at that time, most everybody was out of work and everybody was kind of figuring things out. So we were helping everybody that needed stuff. And we were making more partnerships and making more relationships in the community. And during that pandemic too, I went to a local high school to do to help a student with a project in the community, and in that moment or at that time or during that experience, I met an old colleague, and I was explaining to my colleague what I was trying to do, and he's like, "Wait, I got space. And his space was like a third floor attic in this town." But my house was becoming overrun with coats, clothes, food. I couldn't keep it in. It was what we needed at the time. I'll say that because it got us out of the house and it got us, a little bit more permanent location, if you will, a little bit more stable location. And then we were able to create that store-like environment. And then we signed a year lease. And then what happened was, this is interesting. So the landlord, he owned a bunch of different buildings and businesses and whatnot, and is a very, very fortunate person. And he sent us a letter. We were renting 2 rooms, and he sent us a letter telling us that he was increasing both of our rooms by $50, so $100 a month. Well, we had paid our rent every month during the pandemic, and we were community based, and we didn't really take kindly. I didn't take kindly to
Right,
that.
because this is
So,
when you're supposed to give people a break.
100%. And we had realized that he had given businesses a break, but he didn't give the local startup nonprofit a break. And that didn't really sit kindly with me. So I went online and I did a video, and my wife made a post. And that night, after explaining what transpired that night, somebody got back to me and offered their storefront on Newton and Spring Street, which is the hub in Sussex County for us. And we've been there for 2.5 years since, and our store has done nothing but develop and grow and progress. And we serve over 500, 600 families, which equates to 15, 16, 700 people a month. And it's working families, and it's senior citizens, and it's veterans. And it's those populations that statistically, in a national stat, that 70% of working families are living paycheck to paycheck. So we have found a niche, and we found populations of people who are struggling. And despite, what they believe is doing the right thing, you know what I mean? Multiple jobs, 2 people working, whatever the case may be, and they find themselves still living paycheck to paycheck, and in some instances, not even have enough money for food. So Benny's
And Benny,
Bodega
I will
started.
tell you, this really touched a chord in me because we are not only an estate planning firm, but we help people qualify for Medicaid eligibility.
Oh, perfect. See,
And
I knew I
so
liked you.
and we have found that some of the people who need this the most are actually saying, no, we've got enough. I mean, we want somebody else who's less, economically, challenged compared to us.
Yes.
We shouldn't be going on Medicaid. And so it's important for these people to know that you exist because when things are going, tough, when times are tough for them, they know that they have a place where, they can still keep their dignity.
You said it better than I could, and you're absolutely right. See, struggle today looks different than struggle even 5 years ago, and struggle is really everybody. And you can have multiple jobs, you can make 6 figures and still be struggling. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? Depending on your situation. And it's important that people have a spot where they can go to not only retain finances and extend their finances, but you're absolutely right. Retain some form of dignity, because a lot of us we were taught, we went to college, we get a job, and it's not, you can have multiple jobs and still be struggling. And we want to be that role and that niche for that population of people who find themselves struggling. But to your earlier point, need a hand up, not a handout, but just a little hand up through a difficult time.
It was amazing. I wanted to ask a few sort of pointed questions about this organization.
Sure.
Why only the elderly, the employed, and the veterans? What made you pick this group versus everyone?
So that's a great question. So the quick answer to that is that everybody who is struggling, or people who are on disability, those populations of people have access to resources throughout the community. They could literally go to any resource and get food, clothes, links to other services. They qualify for government assistance. So there's programs designed for that population of people, and they're designed by other nonprofits, and they're designed by the federal government. There are no programs that are designed specifically for working families. And when it comes to veterans will always have a special place in my heart. So they'll be accessing Benny's Bodega as long as they can document any sort of ties to the military. They can come into Benny's Bodega, including the idea that that other population of people have access to all the other resources, and working people and senior citizens don't. Also, like I said earlier, it's a national stat. So 70% of working families are living paycheck to paycheck, and they don't have a place where they can go to shop. They don't have a place where they can go to extend their finances or to get the things that they need, because they don't qualify for government assistance, and they don't go to other places. Pride is a very, very real thing. And it a lot of times prevents working families, especially and including the elderly, but especially the elderly, very prideful population of people. So they won't go to these places of people that are for everybody, because there are other people who need it more. And that's something that we hear all the time. So we need to design something that is for them. And we need to design an opportunity that is for them and acknowledges that life in 2024 is hard for people who are employed. And it's definitely hard for elderly who are living on a fixed income. So if we don't create this opportunity for them, then what happens to them? Well, I'll tell you what happens. I've seen it and I've lived it. They fall through the cracks and they silently suffer. So why should that be when this other population of people has all this access to services and this population of people don't? So let's create something for them that is for them, that they feel comfortable going, that is not government involved, that's community involved. And what that means is community means that everybody acknowledges your struggle. And if everybody gets behind you, then how could you not feel comfortable, right? Because it's not the government saying, here, poor me, poor me. It's everybody saying, I get it. Struggle's real. Come to the bodega and shop,
Let
and
me
we'll
give
help.
you a hand and give you a hand up.
You got it. You got it.
That psychology background I think was instrumental for all of this, because you understood a need, and that's your gift, and I think psychology had something to do with that.
Well, thank you. Maybe it wasn't such a waste of a degree then.
It wasn't a waste at all. One question about your childhood. Who was the most influential person in your life?
Oh, wow. I would say that I've gotten into the social service field because of my parents. I would say that both of them were educators. Both of them. My mom went back to school when I was young. I can remember her going to school, and she ended up being a guidance counselor after being a teacher. And my dad was a welding teacher and then turned into a guidance counselor. So both of them were involved with education. And I can remember my mom specifically helping kids and getting thank yous from kids. So I'd say they're the reason why, both good and bad, I went into the social service field. You know what I mean? And I would probably give them credit for, where I am.
Wow, that's great. Are you ready for your rapid fire questions?
Let's go. Let's do it. Of course.
What's the first thing you reach for when you get out of bed?
Oh my God. To hug my wife and hug my kids. They usually make my son cuddle with me. So he's 8. So he still cuddles with me. And my daughter comes in and gives me a kiss now and leaves. So my wife and kids.
Beautiful. What a way to get out. That's awesome. What's the one thing that's unexpected about you that people would be surprised to know?
That I can get, that I can be impatient. I think people think that because I'm a social worker and because I'm super nice sometimes most of the time that I don't get frustrated and I don't get upset, but I do.
I read a saying the other day, and I thought it was probably good for every business owner or anybody who's trying to make a difference to know. Be impatient for action and patient for outcome.
That's right.
You
That's
know,
right.
I think that being impatient once in a while is okay. If you're trying to get to implementing something and then, let it do it and then sit back and see how
Well, thank you. It makes me feel better.
If you could eat just one meal a day for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Chicken cutlets and mashed taters.
Oh, all right. Uh, and your wife knows that, I'm assuming.
Yes, she does.
What are the three things you cannot live without?
Definitely my family. I would say at this point, Benny's Bodega. And then I would say three things I can't live without. My dogs at this point. Yeah.
Oh, wow. Lucky
Yeah.
dogs.
Yeah. My boy Leroy is the best.
If you can go back into your childhood, what is the one advice you would give to your younger self?
Oh wow. I would ooh, that's such a great question. I think I would tell myself to choose the right people to be around and to make decisions according to people and how they treat you and not necessarily um, what they can provide you.
Wow, that's really great. Are you an early bird or a night owl?
Both. I tend to
You
be
don't sleep.
I tend to be up in between 6 and 7, and I tend to go to sleep sometime after 11. Yeah.
Okay, you need to rest up.
You might probably see the bags under my eyes.
Oh, no, no, not at all. If you were an animal, which animal would you like to be and why?
Wow, German Shepherd, dog.
Why?
It's my favorite. That's what Leroy is. That's kind of what I grew up with. I love them. They're loyal. They sit right on top of you. They're excited for when you come home. There's no judgment there. Leroy always loves me. He always wants to lick my face. He always wants to hang out with me. He's not tired of me. He's not annoyed by me. You know what I mean? He just loves
Oh,
me.
awesome. Awesome. And last question, if your wife had to describe you in one word, what would it be?
If she had to describe me with one word, what would it be? Active.
Okay, I like that. That's a positive thing.
I think so.
Very nice.
Thank you.
Now we're going to talk about your legacy. When we were doing this interview series, we thought what better opportunity we have right now to ask people like you who are doing such great work what legacy you want to leave. So the first question I want to ask you is, what are you most proud of in terms of your accomplishments?
See, I've spent my professional career, and I didn't acknowledge this till I was as an event, and I was speaking to like a local pastor, a local reverend, and he kind of pointed it out to me. But what I'm most proud of is this: I'm 43 years old. I've been out of college for 20 years, and I have spent my professional career and my personal time helping people, and nobody can take that away. And maybe I haven't always been successful, right? And not everything's a success story, but I have dedicated my personal and my professional time to helping people, and I'm proud of that. And I think I've had a lot of success, and I think I've impacted a lot of people's lives positively, and I'm very proud of that.
What's the legacy you want to leave in your life?
So I think about this a lot, and I used to have a friend that I talked about this with, and a lot of us will come into life and will exit life, and most of us will just be kind of a blip on the radar, right? Just kind of this thing that happens over a period of time, and of course, our family and our friends will remember us for a period of time, but then that's really it. And for me, that's been real impactful and real powerful because I don't want to be that. I want to be somebody that I'm a sports guy and I love sports. So the best analogy I can give is I want to be in the Hall of Fame of helping people, and I want to have that statue of so people remember what we accomplished. They remember Benny's Bodega, and it's not just a blip on the radar. So I want my legacy is that I want to leave a legacy of kindness and empathy, and that we understood struggle, and that things weren't always perfect, and I wasn't always perfect as a human.
I am getting the sort of the common thread, but let's see what you do with this last question. And
Got
that
you.
is, if there was one thing you want your community, the human beings in general, you want us to do one thing better, what would be your wish?
I would say give back, and just give back slash understand that struggle happens to all of us. And what I mean by that is, we're all fortunate, and a lot of us are fortunate. And the people who are really blessed and really fortunate with money and other things usually made that money and other things because of somebody else, or because people bought a product or came to their service or business. So for me, it's a responsibility to give back. It's a responsibility to help the fellow person, because your success most likely was contingent upon other people. So that responsibility to me is important, and we all should give back. Now, how you give back is up to you, but there should be a responsibility and an empathy and a kindness towards your fellow person. And I don't think any of us live on this earth without having gone through something negative, right? So like, struggle affects all of us. So the idea that you're above it, or the idea that, you can't recognize that other people have unfortunate circumstances, that, I don't know. I have a hard time wrapping my head around that. So I would just want people to understand that that happens to all of us. And although you are fortunate and you are blessed, that's not the case for all of us. Let me also explain something. So for being community based, like, these interviews and these types of opportunities are vital to our success. So really, I can't thank you enough for providing us this opportunity, because without people like you supporting us and showing an interest in what we're doing, we don't spread our love, and we don't spread our mission. So seriously, thank you.
You're, like I said, the pleasure was all ours. We were so excited to hear about your nomination, and we said, we definitely wanted to get you in to interview you. The one thing that you'll see is that at the end of the year, we're getting all the nominees, and we're going to gather at Princeton, and we're going to have a movie afternoon at the movies, and we're going
Let's
to do
go.
a drawing where one lucky winner will actually win an estate plan, a free estate plan. So I'm rooting for you, unless you've already got your wills, but I'm
No,
rooting.
let's go.
But it was a pleasure and honor, and keep doing the great work that you're doing, because I think, like I said earlier, no amount of exposure is enough for this great cause.
Well, thank you very much, and thanks for having me and talking to me and listening to me a little bit. Appreciate it.